The Teacup in the Window. In a quiet town just outside York, England, where the chimneys still smoked on winter mornings and the shops closed early on Sundays, lived a boy named Oliver. He was 13, polite, clever, and like most teenagers, busy. Busy with football, busy with group chats, busy with homework, which he rarely did until 5 minutes before class. Oliver lived with his mum in a red brick row house. But next door, alone, lived Mrs. Whitaker, who everyone simply called the widow in number 9. The neighbor, Mrs. Whitaker, was well into her 80s. She wore long cardigans, drank her tea at the same time every day, and had a faded teacup always sitting in the windowsill. It never moved. The kids said if you knocked too loudly on her door, she'd turn you into a toad. Oliver didn't believe that, of course, but he still avoided her. Until one Wednesday afternoon. The favor. Oliver came home to find his mum waiting on the porch. "Mrs. Whitaker's heater is out," she said. "I've called someone, but it'll take a day. Can you bring her some soup and check on her?" Oliver groaned. "Can't someone else?" His mum raised an eyebrow, the kind that said, "Don't push your luck." So, grumbling, Oliver carried a bowl of tomato soup next door. The visit, he expected a musty, cranky old house. What he found instead was warmth. Blankets on every chair, classical music playing softly, a fire crackling in the hearth. And Mrs. Whitaker, wrapped in a shawl, smiled at him like he'd just solved world peace. "Well now," she said gently, "that's a proper entrance." He set the soup down. "My mum sent this." She nodded, then pointed to the teacup in the window. "You know, that cup's older than your school." He blinked. "Why keep it there?" "Because it was the last thing my husband gave me before he left for war. I always said I'd wait by the window with it." Oliver stood awkwardly, then almost without thinking sat down. The stories. That one visit turned into 2, then 3. Each week, he stopped by. Mrs. Whitaker told him about growing up during the Blitz, about ration cards, about dancing in the streets when the war ended. She taught him how to make proper tea, how to write thank you notes. She even taught him how to listen not just to words, but to silences. One afternoon, she said, "We old ones, we're like libraries without signs. People forget we're full of stories." Oliver nodded. "I'm listening now." The goodbye. The teacup stayed in the window until one day it didn't. The curtains were drawn, the house quiet. Mrs. Whitaker had passed peacefully in her sleep. At her funeral, the vicar mentioned how she died with dignity and one young man's kindness. Oliver stood quietly, holding a small, wrapped package. Inside was the teacup. The after. Years later, in his university dorm room in London, Oliver kept that teacup by his window. Not because it was fancy, but because it reminded him to slow down, to listen, and to remember that sometimes the oldest voices carry the newest truths. Moral of the story: the wisdom of the past isn't gone. It's waiting in teacups, quiet rooms, and old hands that once carried the world.